this video, I'm going to show you how to build a motorized trike. Throughout the video, you will sometimes hear me describe it as a drift trike, which you can turn one of these into a drift trike if you put slick tires on the back, but my wife doesn't want me to do that, so I'm not doing it. My kids and I have labeled the vehicle the Silver Bullet in honor of the wonderful film from the 1980s. If you get a chance to see it, I suggest you do. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the build.
This is going to be the bike which we're going to use for the drift trike. It's a child's bike that was being used by my 12-year-old son. It's a Schwinn. It doesn't have perfect shape, but it's going to work pretty well. So first thing we have to do is you have to remove the pedals. Not the most difficult thing in the world, but the next part is you're going to have to cut up the bike. We're going to have to cut it here. We're going to have to cut it here. We're going to have to cut it here. So all we need is this front portion to connect to the drift trike. The other part's going to be really difficult. Is going to be to route out this inside. I think it's just a little bit tight for our 1.5-inch bar, which will connect it to the rest of the body. But hopefully that shouldn't be too much work. The bike has been successfully split. That's the piece we need right there. I gotta pretty it up a little bit, but it's gonna work pretty well. All that's left of the bike is this portion. The back wheels, everything else has been taken off. Now this is 1.5-inch bar that we placed through, drilled a hole through, and put 2 bolts into to keep it very stable. That's what's going to connect the rest of the 1.5-inch bar body to the front of the drift trike.
Here we see 2 Chino juveniles in a most unnatural state, doing work for their father. They've taken a break from gaming and brawling to sand the front portion of their motorized trike. Look at them take to their task with reckless abandon, moving the 120 grit paper at speeds barely visible to the human eye. The rust which once covered the bulk of the silver body will soon find itself in small orange piles on the concrete. In a short time, the Silver Bullet will tear down the streets of their neighborhood, enraging the entire homeowners association. These boys will be lucky to make it to adulthood without criminal records.
So we have connected this front portion of the drift trike to the rest of the trike. This was the 1.5-inch bar, which makes up the entire body. If you look at these two together, you're going to see I've had to connect one round bar to another, and that's not the easiest thing. You could use a big square bracket if you wanted to, but I had the idea that I would take the angle grinder and just cut a portion out, then wrap it around and bolt it down. It worked pretty well. I did it on both sides. Nevertheless, I thought I'd better bracket it, or I'd better give it just a little bit more support without that large square bracket. And so I used the angle grinder again and cut some 1.5-inch steel top and bottom just to hold it, give it a little bit more strength. Now this 1 inch and this 1.5 inch right here, this is what the seat sits on. When we'll get the seat back on it and bolt it down into it just before we drive it off. This is the Predator 212cc engine. This is what we are going to use to power our drift trike, our 3-wheeled go-kart. It doesn't come ready-made, so there's certain things you have to do to alter it. One, you have to get a centrifugal clutch for it. They come about 30 bucks. We got ours from J-Can Parts in Mercedes, Texas. Two, once you put the centrifugal clutch on, you gotta space it out appropriately with washers. We had to put 2 here and put 2 behind it in order for it not to move. 3, you have to get a very specific bolt. This is a 5/16 bolt with 24 thread. You're gonna have a tough time trying to find them at your local Home Depot or Lowe's. We went to an auto parts store in Harlingen, Texas, and found one pretty easily. You could go with a 1.5 inch or 1 inch. Luckily, I chose the 1 inch and it worked about right. Other than that, not too much else you have to do. You do have to come into this section right in here and take all of this apart, and there's going to be a wavy washer inside that you will take out. And once you've taken it out, this will spring back just like that. With the washer, with the wavy washer inside right here, wherever this goes to, it will stay just like that. And so once that's out, we can connect it to our throttle and throttle on, and when you let go, it jumps right back. Otherwise, you just throttle on and then it would just be on forever and there'd be no way for it to get back. Right here is where we had mounted the engine initially. It was working out pretty well upon our 10 to 15 tests, but I did notice that the chain had a bit too much give. It was pretty loose. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take my very favorite tool, the angle grinder, and turn this hole into just a long slit. Same here, same there, and on the underside. Here's the axle unit. It was originally an axle for a Carrier ATV. It's got brake drum. The tires were kind of a difficult find. We went to Academy Sports and just happened to find the tires. I had searched everywhere, but I couldn't find them at all. This is the cord for the brake, and it should brake pretty well. We're noticing that it takes a little bit longer than I would like for it to brake, but the chain, which had been loose before, we've tightened up by moving the engine forward just a little bit. And so Christian is going to take it for a test drive.
Feel the weight consume you. See the endless road. Watch the reaper moving. Feel him taking hold. I was just a servant. I was none too bold. I did not seize chances. Now I've grown too old. Wasted moments have brought me to my knees. Choice and reason, my disease. Years full of conforming, years on the proper course. Others took advantage, only nature's force. You could not convince me, I held to my code, while the godless went forth with great fortune strode.